Welcome to the Dynasty Gambit, part of the Going for Two Live network. Got a full current and partially former Going for Two crew here. Full house, 5 cards, right? Prospect poker. We'll get into a little bit of that later. But as always, Dynasty Gambit, my 2 co-hosts. We got Devin way over on the right of your screen. How you doing, Devin?
Doing great. How's everyone doing?
Awesome. Glad to be here. We do a rookie mock tonight. Brian, how are you? I guess Brian's so excited that he back in. Brian, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good as long as I'm staying connected here.
Yeah, the joys of technology, and it's always taking a gambit every time.
I'll apologize in advance if we have multiple issues.
Yeah, no worries. But it's always a gambit every time, right? So we're taking the risk here again. I'm Kyle Senra, and just because we didn't want to walk this rookie draft tightrope alone, we brought in some reinforcements. So former Going for Two Live co-host on the Debbie Royale, which has now evolved into its own show, Jeff. Welcome back to Going for Two Live.
You know, once you're going for 2, you're always going for 2. So I'm thankful and grateful to be back. Jeff and all you guys are fantastic, and I wouldn't be where I am without you, and I'll never forget that. So I'm always thrilled to promote and to be back with Going for 2, and thank you so much for inviting me on.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Jeff. You're always a great person to talk to, and great fantasy football mind, of course. But yeah, great person at the heart of it all. So.
That.
And also, likewise, sentiments to Gerson Aguirre, who's been on the Dynasty Gambit before, especially last offseason, was on quite a bit at the end. So, Gerson, welcome back to the Gambit.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be back. I miss Hamid and the docs, but it's still a great show to be on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for that. Devin, Brian, I think we're doing a good enough job. But as mentioned, we're going to do a rookie mock draft today, and you do a Superflex. You're going to have, a lot of people do it on Sleeper. I think to help visually, we're going to do it through a spreadsheet. Hope that helps. Hope people like that experience. If not, let us know. And of course, the comments are always available on the Going for Two live YouTube page. You can watch the video there on Twitch as well. Same with Facebook. You can watch the video on Twitter, but we won't see your comments. So if you do want to interact with us, again, encourage you to head over and Twitch pages especially, and then we'll be able to have full interaction, get to see your names and everything. And yeah, hopefully we all enjoy this. But I guess we're not retiring yet. They're talking about rookies, but there was a kind of a surprise retirement after a surprise unretirement. Bruce Arians retiring. I guess that's the only real news this week. But I say congrats to Todd Bowles for getting another shot, who I think deserves another shot as a head coach for sure. So glad to see him get I was going to say just a competent quarterback, let alone the greatest quarterback of all time. So definitely an upgrade over, I guess Fitzpatrick was the best he'd ever had up to this point. So good for
you want to know my hot take on this?
Sure.
Bruce Arians and Tom Brady clashed, and there are differences. And I bet you they told Bruce Arians, you guys have to make it work, because obviously Tom Brady won you a Super Bowl. He's the GOAT. And when Tom Brady retired, and then they tried to tell him to come back, they said, it's going to work out. We're going to do something. We're going to figure it out. And then Bruce Arians said, no, I'm not going to coach under these circumstances. And they told him, how about you work in the front office? He knew it was better for his health, so he went to the front office. And you get Tom Brady still, and he said, okay, Todd Bowles gets an opportunity. It's not him being selfish, but at the same time, I mean, we've seen this guy on the sideline. There's times where you think he turned into a freaking hot tamale, the candy, and you think he's just going to pass out. But, it's great for Tom Brady, obviously, but I thought, honestly, I thought he was going to go to Miami. But when Bruce Arians, basically went to the front office, I think he won the war. But, they won the battle, but the war is not over.
For sure. Anyone have any? Do you think that this changes anything for fantasy at all, or this offense runs through Brady and it doesn't matter who's the head coach?
I was a little bit surprised that Byron Leftwich wasn't named head coach, because I know he was a hot name in the coaching cycle and almost had the Jacksonville job, supposedly. Obviously, there was a difference of opinion between him and Trent Baalke, and so he was back. But I was a little bit surprised that they didn't elevate him, went with Bowles instead. because of that, I wouldn't expect big changes for fantasy. I think they're probably just going to run the off. Tom Brady's the offensive coordinator. He probably was before, despite the insistence on Bruce Arians, but he's always going to be the offensive coordinator.
Brian coming in and out a bit like Tom Brady, right? He retired, he's back. So that's Brian's homage to Tom Brady tonight. Devin, you got anything to add to all this?
No, I saw some similar sentiments of people on Twitter that were, like conspiracy theory almost, if you will, that he said he would come out of retirement as long as Arians wasn't the head coach or whatnot. So I've seen a couple things about that as well. It's definitely interesting. You can see it because I believe there's been some reports over the last year or two of them having a little bit of headbutting and whatnot. But yeah, I'm happy for the new coach. I mean, getting another chance from the Jets. It's like, man, you didn't really get a chance if you went to the Jets. You know what I mean?
You did.
So that organization, man, I feel bad for any head coach. I feel like they deserve a second shot if you go coach them. So happy for him. I think he's going to do a good job. And like you said, he's got the GOAT at quarterback. So definitely by far the best quarterback he's ever had, and probably the best offensive players he's ever had as well.
Yeah, true, right? I mean, I guess, the Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker combo wide receiver can be akin to Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, but it was a good offensive line for a while with the Jets. I guess maybe that was kind of the tail end of guys like DeBrickashaw, Ferguson, Nick Mangold. I'm trying to think of when those guys retired, if they did cross over with Bowles, but either way, this is probably the best offensive line in the league, or certainly one of it. So to Jeff's point, like why Leftwich wasn't hired, do you guys think it's just simply that Bowles has been a head coach before? And especially if you're naming it this late, you want the guy that's maybe already done it, as opposed to throwing Leftwich in as a first-time head coach starting right now, as opposed to a couple months ago?
Hands down. Hands down.
I think that's the guy Arians wanted. I thought that was the story, that Arians had input on it and he wanted Bowles as the coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Bowles is a great coach. It's just he coached the New York Jets. They don't give him the opportunity to improve. And, it's just, to me, Todd Bowles has the experience. Todd Bowles knows how to guide a locker room. Byron Leftwich, he's done well as an offensive coordinator. But this is a Super Bowl team, and if obviously Bruce Arians going in the front office is going to help. And I guarantee you, like Kyle said, Bruce Arians had he get to decide who. That was it.
All right, Brian, did you want to add anything about the Bucs?
Yeah, I'll be curious to see, with Jones leaving, Fournette's, see what his snap percentage is coming out of the backfield, whether they go with Keyshawn Vaughn a little bit. I don't know. That'd be kind of interesting to see where the running back situation is. And, of course, Gronk's on the fence right now in regards to his return. So I'll be interested to see where that goes, too. So there's a lot of moving pieces, I think, with the offense.
Yeah, after Evans and Godwin, you still have the number 3 and number 4 receiver on that team are now Russell Gage, based on the fact they paid him, and I want to say it's Tyler Johnson, but I think we know it's not going to be Tyler Johnson, unfortunately. It's can't think of his name now. Who else is there? They re-signed
Scotty Miller.
Jalen Darden, here he comes.
Yeah, Jalen Darden.
Cameron Breit.
Did they re-sign Perryman? Did they re-sign
That's who it is. Brashad Perryman.
Okay.
Yes.
I knew. I totally forgot. I totally forgot that even happened until you just said that.
But you reminded us all, so good job, Devin. I guess that's teamwork, great. But yeah, it's kind of wide open after those top 2, really. So is that, like, to me, I like taking late shots, and this is kind of both in Dynasty, as obviously this is the Dynasty Gambit, but certainly in redraft too. Kind of like taking late shots at any of those guys. The peripheral options that are going to be week to week boom bust. I want them for the better offenses because more touchdowns, more boom weeks, more chances to capture those. So those seem like, I don't think there's really any bad name there that you're absolutely no. I'm refusing to draft that player. I think that's kind of, you do that with the bad teams. I think the offenses you aren't going to score touchdowns.
James Robinson, man, he was on a bad offense and he blew out.
He also wasn't a peripheral option. He was their like workhorse running back, right? And I think less running backs because we know where the usage is going to be. Even on a bad offense, a good running back could still, be on the field just to catch passes. But I think more for the receivers. Like, I think you didn't really want to. I guess Jamal Agnew did have some reference last year. Maybe the Jags had an example of that, but like a James O'Shaughnessy, right? Like you'd rather invest in a Cameron Breit than a James O'Shaughnessy, even if Breit wasn't the lead guy, the number one tight end, just because he could catch the touchdown. And O'Shaughnessy might have got the targets, but the overall ceiling was super capped.
Yeah, like you said, you always want to take a piece of those better offenses, but also pay attention to your average draft positions on those peripheral guys. You may be able to get some real value plays there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. When it's not so certain, especially if everyone's kind of planting their flag on the same receiver and that receiver goes up, you can get the other guys. Like, let's say Russell Gage gets a ton of hype. Maybe Rashad Perryman and Scotty Miller are all a lot cheaper.
Yeah, Cameron Breit was top 10 in red zone targets last year, despite Gronk having a fantastic season. So he's hanging around there, and Gronk is not currently a Buccaneer. So I tweeted last night, diving into it, looking at some red zone numbers, and I was surprised to see his name. And he might be on your waiver wire in your deep dynasty league if the waivers are open for you right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess is this a good spot to open up our rookie mock draft? Unless anyone has any other dynasty strategy they'd like to share with anyone.
Let's do it.
All right. So like I said, let's nerds. We're going to the spreadsheet. So what we're going to do here, I've got 3 rounds set up, but this is really all going to depend on how long this goes. If we're done 2 rounds and we're up at an hour, we'll probably call it quits around that. Just to give a good reference point. We do like to talk here. So I think that the way this is going to go, just a 12-team Superflex league, and we're going to have Brad Harvin, my co-host on the Full Press Fantasy Pod, come on. Unfortunately, couldn't just a family emergency, nothing too serious, but something that needs to be attended to. So I know Brad mentioned what his 103 pick will be, and I think from there maybe we'll just consensus him. But basically, just alternating. 12 rounds, 6 people. Everyone picks twice per round, kind of a nice equal way to do things. So I figured, as I didn't consult my co-host on this, but I figured we'd let the guests go first and we'd take the tail end picks. So trying to be polite. I put myself last just knowing that. So I guess for whom Jbl tolls, I don't know. Should I put you 104, Jeff? I don't know, but you're 101, so go ahead.
I do usually pick number 4 when I'm in mocks, but yeah, 101. I think consensus is leaning towards Breece Hall right now, but I'm still going to go with Malik Willis because I believe he's going to get the draft capital that's going to say a team is committed to him. He's got the tools to be a quarterback 1, and you can talk about whether or not you believe he's good, but I don't know that I believe Jalen Hurts is good, but he's still a very productive and fantasy quarterback, and I think Willis has all those tools that you're looking for, so I'll take Malik Willis with the 101.
Again, knowing it's Superflex, right?
Yes.
Tailoring to the format for sure. Also a shout out to HBF Sports Network saying, hey guys, thanks for joining. Thanks for checking out the show. And hopefully everyone enjoys this rookie mock draft. So yeah, Jeff goes with Malik Willis, 101.
I feel like, that's there's a little bit of a shift happening right now. I think it has been Breece Hall for quite a while. And then after his pro day for Malik Willis, that he's I've seen him go a lot more, being a lot more conversations about the 101. So I like that pick. I think it's probably going to be shifting that way even more as the weeks get closer. And as you said, if a team really does give him that commitment, then he's definitely going to be the 101.
Yeah, and I really think that to take Breece over him, you're kind of valuing Breece at his ceiling while you're kind of valuing Malik Willis at his floor. And even then, like as a floor play, I still just think there's so much potential for him to even be a quarterback 1 not playing well because the team has committed to him and he's got those tools. And if obviously he does play well, those are the type of players we see going in the top half of startup drafts.
Brian, any thought to the Jeff's pick of Malik Willis at 101 in this mock?
Yeah, I'm a huge Willis fan. Last year, as some of y'all know, this is my first year doing Dynasty and Devy. And last year in the Devy draft, I got him late second round, and now I've got him at the 101. So I'm a huge fan and have been for a while now.
You did well.
Now, this again, like both Jeff and Devin were referencing, this rise of Malik to being the 101. It also seems like, is it also maybe like a draft community rise where like he legit could go 101, 102 in the NFL draft, where it seemed like even just a few weeks ago, it seemed like he was probably expected to fall outside the top 5 even.
I believe so. And I even said it prior to the combine that you know, he was the talk of the Senior Bowl. He was the talk of the combine. He's aced every single checkpoint along the way in the pre-draft process. And the guy that I think about is Kyler Murray, because Kyler Murray, if you look at that draft class, he was not mocked in the top half of the first round in February, in January, and he rose up and he became, obviously went 101 in the draft. But he was a guy that was very low to begin the process. And I think there are similarities in Willis because, again, he's nailing all these checkpoints. You know, when he's the talk of the Senior Bowl, he's the talk of the combine. He does all the things that you want to see. All the intangibles are coming back, rave reviews in his personality. And he's got the athleticism that teams are craving at the position.
All right. Gerson, did you have anything to say about Willis?
Yeah. I respect everybody what they said, but to me, it's just I'd rather just go a different route. I don't believe any of these quarterbacks will start from day one. And obviously, if you're picking 101, I think your team's bad right off the bat, unless you traded for it, which is probably what 40% chance, 30% chance you traded for it. You know, I don't know, but. To me, it's just Malik Willis. I don't like his ball placement. I don't like his accuracy. Yes, he is very athletic. Yes, he does have a great rocket arm, but we've seen this in other quarterbacks. But I get it. I respect it. But to me, I'd rather go with the next guy I'm going to pick.
Well, and I mean, just back to HBF Sports Network, they say they think Matt Corral has a higher ceiling, but kind of, I guess, understanding of what Willis is. But Gerson, go ahead, make that 102 selection.
Yeah. Oh, hold on, I gotta type it in, right?
I can type it for you if you want.
Yeah, we were going to be nice and not make the not make the guests have to do all the work. I'll put the co-host to work.
Yeah, mine is Breit Hall. I've been touting it. If you follow me on Twitter at Fantasy GDFS, I've been touting it all season, even before almost 2 months ago, 3 months ago, like basically when I said Breit Hall 101 no matter what. And I'm going to take that to the ground. I'm going to take it all the way there. Breit Hall had a very impressive combine. If it wasn't impressive, it's one of the top 10 impressive combines for a running back. I mean, he had a 4.39. That's 97th in percentile. His speed score is 116.9. I mean, again, 98th percentile. And a burst score of 131, which is 94th percentile. And if that's not what gets you excited, I mean, this guy's production was incredible. Hall ranked second best in total touchdown shares, 12th best in best season reception shares, and second best in total yards per team play. I mean, this guy had the production. He had the combine metrics. I mean, his comparison right now is on Player Profiler is Jonathan Taylor. And if that doesn't excite you, I don't know what will. But I love Jonathan Taylor too. I mean, Kyle knows how much I love Jonathan Taylor. But the thing to me that impressed me the most about Breit Hall, his age. He's very young, 20 years old still. I mean, in 2 months, he'll be 21. But, I mean, I'll give him a beer when he turns 20. If I could have a beer with Breit Hall, oh, boy. I'm going to tell him I'm going to draft him 101. And, no, I mean, I just think this guy is the best running back in this draft class. And I think he's on his own tier as a running back. To me, again, I get the Malik Willis pick, but Breit Hall is as safe as they come as a top, 2 pick. But I'm going Breit Hall 101 no matter what.
I get the sense that most Superflex rookie drafts, these are going to be the first 2 picks. And it'll be, if Jeff's drafting, it'll be Malik Willis that goes 1. If Gerson's drafting, it'll be Breit Hall. So every manager kind of has to decide for themselves. But this is a serious question a lot of people are asking. The tendency, the philosophy is you should never reach for a position, right? You always should just go with the best player. But these two are so close where it might come down to, if you're in Superflex and you don't have the quarterback, it may be the cheapest way to get it is by taking Malik Willis. There's the cheapest way to get the type of upside production. Now, again, back to HBF Sports Network and his comment of Matt Corral, maybe you don't have to reach for Willis to get that same upside either. But He does have they have another comment here. Breece Hall's speed and crazy change direction can definitely make him a top 15 back in the league his first 2 years. And I think Gerson, you're probably even thinking higher than top 15, to be honest.
Yeah, he right now on my running back ranking, he's ranked top 10 for sure. And that's for Dynasty. Like, that's without draft capital, too. So I'm waiting for that draft capital. I think that'll be the last, like, what do you call it? What do you call it? I can't remember how they say it. But
notch in the belt, the last
the last step on the
criteria.
Yeah. Last check mark.
Yes, sir. So, yeah.
Check mark to Devin for getting the expression. Jeff, do you have anything to add to HBF Network's comment just about Breece Hall, top 15 back, top 15 fantasy running back?
I think in Dynasty, I believe I've got him maybe number 9, or he might even be higher than that in my Dynasty rankings. Just because I think once you get past the top handful of guys in Dynasty, the obviously Jonathan Taylor, Javonte Williams, Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift, that it really falls off because you end up with these 26, 27-year-old guys, and do you really want to invest in them at that level, or are you going to roll the dice on this guy? And I love Breece Hall, and he's my running back 1, and I'm not going to blame anybody. I think that hypothetically, when I'm looking at it, and especially in Superflex, if you've earned the 101, I'm guessing that you don't have solid quarterback positions in place. And if you don't have those quarterback positions, I mean, there's always next year to get Bijan Robinson because your team's probably still going to be bad. And I just hate wasting a running back on a bad team that doesn't have quarterbacks in place.
That's a damn good point. That is true.
I will say, the only league where I had the 101 in, and I did earn it. Now it's funny. I actually at the end of the year was second last, but because of tied record, they instantly go to the tiebreakers for determining draft order. And because the team that was below me actually beat me, I ended up with the 101. But anyway, I sold the 101 and the 105 as well as the 23 second to get. I think Devin, we might have talked about this trade.
Yep.
But I got Joe Burrow and Corey Davis. But the whole idea is giving up 2 firsts to get Joe Burrow and the 101 and 105 at that. So the idea was.
Oh, go ahead.
But the idea is, sorry, Jeff, exactly what you're saying. My team's not really that great. Yeah. Me taking Hall, I mean, I could have taken Malik Willis, but I just thought, give me the chance that the guy we know is showing elite talent right now. So
I feel like roster construction is a big theme in these first 2 picks. So,
but anyway, Jeff, go ahead.
I was going to say I did a startup and early this offseason, and I took the 101, and then I ended up trading it. I traded it, and I got a random 23 first, and then 2 seconds this year, like 204, I believe, and then like 209. That's just because the depth of next year's class, like I just can't hammer it home enough that I think there are probably 7 or 8 guys in next year's class that would be the 101 in this year's class. It's just there's so many good talent and players coming in next year. And so that's where I am. I think that if you're earned the 101 and that somebody in your league is in love with Breece Hall, I think that that's a pick that you probably should be moving out and getting other pieces. But I do love that trade to get Joe Burrow because I'm a firm believer that in Superflex Dynasty, especially, if you don't have those elite quarterbacks, you need to be pulling out the stops to get them.
And this goes to, I'm going to transition here to a question that Gerald has, Gerald Eubanks. He's sitting at 102 in Superflex, does not need quarterback. Who do I go? I could use RB, but not Paramount. Souring on Walker and Spiller. So under this assumption that this is kind of assuming that Breece Hall goes 101. So it sounds like if Breece Hall's there at 102, you're taking Hall, but let's make that assumption that he doesn't. Personally, I think I'd still go Willis, thinking that, or just trade the pick and whatever you're doing, use that to fill that position. Because whether it's trading the 102 or Willis, you could probably get a better player that's going to contribute to your lineup right now than you will going with a rookie running back or rookie wide receiver. So if you're not sold on Willis and don't need the QB, find the team that does need the quarterback, and he was willing to pay up for Willis. And that's how, whether it's through draft capital or actually getting players, that's how you maybe address the running back position is by trading that pick more than anything.
Well, the reality of it is, if Malik Willis hits, if he hits in a big way, that is a top 8 or higher dynasty asset immediately. And I don't know that you can say the same thing for Breece Hall.
You don't think Breece Hall will be – well, yeah, Superflex. Yeah, you're right. Never mind.
It'll
Yeah,
it's if Malik Willis hits, you might see him go in the first round of a startup next year.
Yeah.
What I mean,
and as
the
we
outcomes.
keep getting, oh, go ahead.
Well, obviously the outcome might be there for Hall to also be a first round startup pick, but he probably needs to be the RB1 or 2 next year. Whereas Malik Willis could maybe get that status even with like a QB10 finish.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing to remember too is, I mean, the closer we get to our own drafts, there's the more and more of his name is going to keep rising. I mean, we've already seen the shift where people now are even considering him at the 101. So, I mean, even if you have to take him at the 102, you can get a massive haul for him. So, I mean, if you want a package around a running back that you really like or something like that, the team is probably going to pay it. So, I mean, to skip over the quarterback, leave him out there, and just overdraft one of these other players that we'll be discussing upcoming, probably not the best move, you know. So just take the value or trade the pick now and get everything you can for him.
All right, Corey Spallon saying Jbl Gambit is legit. That's true. I mean, well, yeah. Hopefully we think that the Dynasty Gambit is legit, but I definitely wholeheartedly agree that Jeff is legit.
So it is fitting that I'm here on the show because Corey and I play in a lot of leagues together, and so I have a move that I like to do in startups. I call it the Jbl Gambit, and what I do on that one is I trade my second and third rounder. I move up to get 2 of these elite quarterbacks in the first round, and that is my basis on these teams, on these Superflex teams. I love building teams that way. And I've done it several times in leagues I've played with Corey and other leagues. And I did a startup that started last week, and I moved up and I got Kyler Murray and I got Lamar Jackson, and to build my basis around my team. I was still able to put like Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins, and some other guys around there to still get some decent guys coming back. But that's a move that I love to do, and I've call it the Jbl Gambit. So it's fitting to be on this show.
Yeah, the Dynasty Gambit. So welcome, Jbl. I was gonna say welcome, Jeff. Ring that bell. It's funny because I'm in a startup right now, and I saw 2 teams do that. One team had the 101. They also gave up a ton to just get to the 106 and go Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. This is also a 14-team league, so even more scarcity.
Oh, wow.
Another team was sitting 105. They traded to get the 104 in front of them, and they went Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray. So yeah, that's definitely there, which means the opportunity is also there to trade down. Now, I don't know if I want to trade out of those spots at the chances at the elite quarterbacks. And I ended up picking Wilson at 114 and then trading down and not picking again until the 4th round and getting, I think 3 picks in the 5th, 2 in the 6th, 2 in the 7th, and then accumulating extra 23 first. So a core of players, I think I went like pure production. The young, productive and valuable players are gone. So at that point, just get the older veterans knowing I got the future firsts in stock. And then can kind of, if I'm competing, can either use those first to trade for players, or if I'm not, then I'm already building towards next year anyway. Can kind of just sell off more assets to get more first or more future assets. So again, good strategy talk here, but I think that's a lot of startup talk. This is a rookie mock, right? As Jared does point out. Let's go, and we are almost a half hour in, and we've made 2 picks. So we'll speed this up a little bit. But again, it's exactly what I wanted. And to be fair, I think those first 2 picks are going to be so highly scrutinized, right? Like it is a big decision that a lot of teams will be making. So I think it is fair to spend a lot of time on that. Now we'll go with what was supposed to be Brad Harvin's pick. And he, again, informed me that he wanted his 103 to be Jamison Williams. And I think for further explanation of that, I'm going to be really self-serving and say, starting next week, we're doing our rookie ranking episodes on the Full Press Fantasy Pod. And I think next week we'll do running backs, but the week after that, probably wide receivers. And so if you really want to get a detailed answer of why Brad likes Jamison Williams so much, I'd say tune into the Full Press Fantasy Pod and listen to that episode, because I'll definitely bring this up in particular. But from what I gather, it's the high end speed. And I also think that just the theory move here is if you are at the 103 with your natural pick, knowing that Jamison Williams is injured, might miss the majority or at least part of his rookie season. If you're at the 103 and your team isn't quite ready to compete, you don't mind holding Williams through an injured season, especially if your league has potential points. Let's say you almost maybe prefer that he's not scoring points and that you can kind of get a better 23 pick and really use think that Williams will help you compete in 2023. So the 103 here is Jamison Williams by Brad. Again, I gave a bit of an explanation. If anyone wants to just add in anything on Williams, feel free.
I mean, you nailed it. I mean, I woke up today at 6 a.m. and I watched a little bit of film on him. And I guess I'd done this before. Today, in the past 3 months, and he just reminds me a little bit of, like, in a strange way, Jefferson, you know? Justin Jefferson. Like, he gives me that vibe, but obviously he's probably, like, what, 12 pounds lighter? Probably 18 pounds lighter. But I love that call. I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, you really think about it. Let's say he wasn't injured and he had the season he just had. He would be top 5 automatically. He probably still is, but 103, I wouldn't call it a reach.
And I think we're at the point where after the 102, this is where it's wide open. The tiers are big at all positions. You can kind of go in any direction, right?
Yeah, that's where I land too. And I think that if we're doing Jamison Williams, right? Not Garrett Wilson.
Oh, yeah, that's.
I also confuse names that have the same letters, Devin. So I mean, you got two D's. So.
Yeah, they're both wide receivers. You know, it's close.
Well,
I do think if that's your move, though, you need to find somebody that's in on Treylon Burks or Garrett Wilson and move down to like the 107, 108 area to go ahead and do that move.
Fair enough. Yeah, good
I was looking at my own personal rank because that's about where I have him as 107. So I was like, oh yeah. So whoops.
Well, you're up in 2 picks, Devin. But Brian, at 104, what would you like to take?
Well, to me, I mean, to piggyback on Jamison Williams, I'm okay there at receiver, but at the same time, receivers, the depth of this class. So sitting at 104, to me, you've either got to go quarterback or running back. I don't love the quarterback options, so I'm going to go at this point in time, I'm going Kenneth Walker or Isaiah Spiller. I'm going to go Kenneth Walker.
Okay, good job.
I already had it typed, so you like threw me for a loop there. I was like, oh man, I thought he was
going
for Kenneth, and then
darn it, I wanted Kenneth Walker because I knew that it will appear that Devin's not going to take a running back. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, again, my film grade purely, he was the number 1 running back, and I have him ranked at running back 2. I think the thing with Hall was as much as Walker had a good combine as well. I mean, his relative athletic score is decent, 9.25. Breece Hall's a 9.96, like literally 0.4 off of being a perfect 10. Like it's and then the reception, the ability, like just best receiving season. Breece Hall had 36 receptions. In his best season, Kenneth Walker only had 13. Not that I don't think he can catch, but Hall's shown it more. I think everything just kind of points to that. But yeah, I have Walker as the clear 2. So I love the pick for you, Brian. I hate it that I won't get it.
Well, hopefully you like Spiller instead. Be honest with you, I had a quarter here beside me. I said, well, which one do I want to go? So,
all right. Any Kenneth Walker comments here?
I think a lot of his determination on how high he's going to go in the draft is really where he gets drafted to. I mean, he's definitely going to be up there regardless. I don't think you're going to be much farther off than this, but if he does land somewhere on a high-powered offense or anything like that, you could maybe even see him jumping up to like the 103 area. So 104 seems pretty good. It already seems kind of, basically like the dream scenario. If he does land somewhere good, I can see him going right in this range, but he's going to go anywhere from 103 to like 106, somewhere in there anyway. But it's going to be interesting to see where he lands.
Yeah, I think there's a huge tier here between probably the 103 and the 108. And if you're somebody that, if you're watching the show, thank you for watching the show. But if you're somebody that you are ahead of your league on values on these players, and maybe you're sitting in like the 111 or like the 201 range, you want to be aggressively trying to move up into that 108 area, because I think that you're going to get a higher tier player. I know I did a trade yesterday. I'm over the moon. I traded a 202, a 212, Darrell Henderson, and Nyheim Hines, and I got the 107 back, and I am just absolutely thrilled because that in my mind, move. I'm going to be grabbing an elite player at the 107, and I just kind of threw a whole bunch of pieces together, and it was one of those. It was a counter of a counter, and you never know what you're going to get when you throw it out there. So I'm happy that
was the other team the Acres owner by chance?
They were actually the Acres owner, so there was probably some of that in there as well. So I can't blame him for going that way, but you never know what you're going to get in trades.
So you said you gave up the 202. Did I hear that right? Going for 2.
There you go. Going
so
for
only,
2,
but the idea is moving up 5 spots. I'm assuming it's a 12-team league, or I guess it would be moving up 7 spots. Sorry.
Yeah.
Math. Yeah.
So So
moving up 7 spots, do you think was just worth all that, basically?
I do, absolutely. Yeah, and it's I'm convinced that I think that this class, like I said, I think between 103 and probably 108, you're dealing with a tier there.
All right, go ahead, Gerson.
So on Kenneth Walker, one of the most interesting things that I found with people always say he can't catch. He can catch. In high school, he had 60 plus receptions, over 1,000 yards. That tells me that he can catch. But if you go look at Michigan State, if you look at their history the last 3 years, they don't really throw to the running back. So maybe it's more of a strategy. And if you go look at Wake Forest, okay, nobody we know the whole thing, but the production and everything. But some systems don't fit other players, But they thought he was a great runner. They're going to use him as a runner. And I think, look at Jonathan Taylor. Look at A.J. Dillon. Look at Leonard Fournette. People said Leonard Fournette couldn't catch. And now he's in the NFL. He's catching what? I think he caught over 90 balls one year. I mean, let's give it a break. I think Kenneth Walker has the ceiling to be, a very high productive running back, even without the he can't catch narrative.
And I think with Walker, is it fair to say that landing spot might actually be more important than draft capital? Just and not even so much like you're. I think Jeff, you said it, like a high-powered offense, but a good offensive line to run behind. I think.
Oh yeah.
Not that the Bears were ever a high-powered offense, but their offensive line used to not be bad. It was at least league average, not like it was last year, or arguably the worst in the league. So, I'm thinking Jordan Howard when he came in, where he was, I think, a 4th or 5th round pick, but he had the opportunity, and the line was decent enough that allowed him to. I think he was second in the league in rushing his rookie year.
Yeah, I think that's definitely.
Go ahead. Those backs are just want volume. I'm just looking for volume. I'm just looking for somebody that's going to get really good volume. And certainly being in a good offense can raise the ceiling on that. But, so many times in these rookie picks that draft capital tells me a guy's going to have volume. And even if it's like the Texans, we mentioned James Robinson earlier on the show and a bad Jacksonville offense. And even with volume in a bad Jacksonville offense, he was still able to contribute a running back one season. So just landing in a position where volume is available.
And just to go back to Gerson's point of Fournette, 76 catches in 2019 and then 69 last year and only 14 games. So, far cry from there was one. I mean, his rookie year only had 36. So I think people were kind of maybe wondering if that was like the ceiling for what he could be as a pass catcher. But definitely, and that 100 target 76 catch season, that was in Jacksonville. So it's not even a Tom Brady Tampa thing.
I was thinking target more than total.
Yeah, but I mean, even 76 isn't that's still pretty good. That's going to probably put you top 10 at the position for any given season. So even with 69 last year, I think he was in the top 5 of all running backs again, even though he missed 3 games. So that's a good point, Gerson. But yeah, Devin, want to make the 105?
I will, and I'm kind of shocked. I'm going to go with who I already typed previously, and I'm going to do Garrett Wilson. I really didn't think he was going to be there at 105, so I'm really happy to get him there. I know this is all and everything anyway, but the kid's a stud. I think he's going to be great. He's only 21 years old, so you're looking, he's going to go probably, I would assume, somewhere in the mid-range first round of the real NFL draft. So maybe somewhere like the Eagles, who have 3 picks in the first round, someone like that. Maybe even higher, where someone actually snipes him a little bit before that. But I think he's going to a good situation, really, no matter where he goes. And I like what I've seen on him on tape. There is someone personally I kind of like a little more. That if it was, I don't know if it was actually if this was for real, if I would still take him there. I was leaning towards it. I'm sure we'll talk about him here in another pick or so. But yeah, I don't know how you feel about him, but I think he has the capability of being an elite wide receiver at the next level.
It's funny because Gerald, again, thanks for tuning in, listening, watching. He actually thinks Chris Olave is better than Garrett Wilson. Jeff, they were teammates, right? I'm not making that up. They did go to that really good school that I can't think of the name of right now.
Yeah, they've played together for the last 3 years, so we've seen them on the same field, catching balls from the same player. So, I think that they're both right there. And I read something today. It was Matt Miller or somebody else mentioned that the league is going to take these Ohio State receivers higher than maybe people realize. And Olave is definitely a guy that I think that draft Twitter has higher than fantasy Twitter, but fantasy Twitter has come around on him. But Garrett Wilson is my number one wide receiver in this class. I just think there are so many things that he can do. You can line him up inside, outside. He can win at all levels. He's the guy that reminds me of Justin Jefferson in terms of the guy that can just eat volume, be a big target hog, and just what modern offenses are looking for right now, an easy separator, a guy that can work underneath, that can get the ball in his hands. Maybe a Deontay Johnson's another type comp where these are the guys that offenses flow through now.
All right. I'm going to stick with the wide receiver position at the 106, and maybe I'm not as great as evaluating wide receivers as probably actually everyone on this panel is. But man, the hype around Treylon Burks, and it almost seemed like he might be the 101 in Superflex drafts at one point.
Oh, for a long time. Yeah. If you look back in December, January, he was.
And I mean, the 40 time wasn't great, but the rest of the combine numbers were like everything was pretty decent. Like nothing was awful or horrible. It was, I think maybe the expectations were almost out of this world and he just didn't match them. And so everyone's kind of almost maybe dropping him for that. I still, again, well, maybe not again. I haven't said this yet. I love slot receivers, and it seems like he could come in and right away and almost dominate from the slot. Now, is he going to get that opportunity because of his size? Maybe teams pigeonhole him to the outside, either because of the size or the speed, and he doesn't get to play as much in the slot. I suppose that's the risk. But if he can get into the slot right away in an offense that will use him that way, Green Bay, really hoping for that. Really love that.
He's got a good chance, I think, to go there.
So yeah, I'm going to go with Treylon Burks at 106.
So yeah, I mean, I think like you said, he was pretty much consensus, wide receiver one, up until maybe like about a month ago after the combine. And he didn't even run that slow. I know it was in the 4.5s, and people kind of, had thought he was going to be in the 4.3s. But, people acted like, that was basically like a 4.8, 4.9, like undraftable type speed, and A.J. Brown is literally almost the same exact speed that he tested at on the 40s. So I think people always, whenever the combine happens, you're always going to put way too much emphasis on those numbers. Tape always overrides the combine for, that's something to always remember. So, he has electric tape, and I'm, as a Bears fan, I'm worried he's going to the Packers. So,
like Treylon Burks, there's a comparison everybody always puts to A.J. Brown right away. But one of my favorite, like I keep looking at it, the way he plays, the way he is, big hand, plays like, this guy catch radius is insane. He reminds me a lot of Allen Robinson. And I know I haven't seen that a lot, but I love Allen Robinson as a player, the player he is. Treylon Burks 40 time is almost the same as A.J. Brown. If you think A.J. Brown quick, the guy ran 22.5 miles per hour. It's like he said in an interview, he said, "Oh, so you don't like my 40? Well, go and check out my film." He ran 22.5 miles per hour. That's pretty fucking fast. So.
Yeah, last year, Jonathan Taylor, again, the guy we love so much, Gerson, I think he hit 22.6 or 22.7 miles per hour, and that was I think the fastest recording time for any ball carrier. And I think if Jeff, you may know this better, or maybe anyone knows this better. Did Treylon hit 22.5? Wasn't that far off?
He hit over 22, I know for sure.
It was 22.6. I know that because I tweeted it the other day, I think.
All right, so there we go. Yeah, I think he was only 0.1 behind what Taylor had recorded last year. So, yeah. And I know, I guess Gerald doesn't like the. I guess he really loves Debo, right? And so the Debo comparisons maybe aren't. Maybe there is no other Debo. To be fair, it's his usage has been pretty kind of insane.
That has been the kind of big comps, like, oh, he's the next Debo, and we've really never even seen anyone in that kind of role, So it definitely is getting thrown out a little more than it probably should. But
you need Kyle Shanahan to make that comparison. I don't get it sometimes, but yeah, okay.
Oh, this is a 2-point conversion, Jay. I know, Gerson, you've talked with him before. I should have put that together. I'm sorry, Jay. Anyway, Jbl, you're up next at 107.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a guy that I've got Drake London here, and I think Drake
Yeah.
London is right there, maybe with Garrett Wilson, Treylon Burks. I'm comfortable taking him in that range, and I don't know. I feel like I didn't realize I was a Drake London guy until I started to get into drafts, and I've ended up with decent amount of picks in this like 107 or 106, 108 range. And I've drafted him twice already in the 2 drafts that I've done already. And so I guess I am the Drake London guy. I think a lot of people see that size and they kind of picture early comps that I saw for him were Mike Evans. And I don't know that he's not really a Mike Evans guy. A guy that reminds me a lot of is T. Higgins. And so when you watch T. Higgins with the Bengals, he's able to line up inside, line up outside, and Drake London showed a lot of that same versatility and usage at USC. He lined up in the slot a lot, and they fed him over and over again. And I think that that's the kind of player that he is that will translate to the NFL level. And again, just one of these guys that you work throughout the formation, you run your offense through, and you just feed him targets.
That's the player I was referring to where I said I'd probably, if this was personally, I'm at 105, I might take a different wide receiver. I'm the same thing. I really didn't know how high I was on him until I was watching this tape and everything. And now once we've been discussing, I've been on a couple other mock drafts, and I haven't actually drafted any yet, but I got a few picks that are in this range, and I'm very hopeful that Drake London is going to be there. I'm very high on him as well.
Yeah.
So Jeff, in that league where you traded up for the 107, is Drake London maybe like, obviously you don't know how it's going to go. Maybe he goes before that, but if he's there at 107, he's going to be a potential target.
Absolutely. And I'd be thrilled with any of these guys. And I'm curious who will go 108, but I'd be thrilled with any of these guys. And that's why, it was one of those where the guy made me the offer and he had the 107. So I offered back, but just to get into that range, I'm very happy to get into that range.
Yeah,
you hustled him.
Well, and the 107 makes it even easier to go up further in the first round, right? Someone who has the 105, 104 probably doesn't want to go down to the 202, but maybe is willing to go down to the 107. So
yeah,
it's not all. It doesn't always have to be in one move either. And I think there might be a chance Drake London's the first wide receiver off the board. Mm-hmm. From like I'm looking at grinding the mocks and mock draft database, it seems like it's going to be Garrett Wilson, but it might be Drake London.
And I think the only guy that really isn't in play I think that there are probably 5 wide receivers in a tier, maybe 6. I can get there. But I do think the one guy that isn't really in play to be the first wide receiver off the board is Treylon Burks. And I think that there's an interesting disconnect between the fantasy community on Treylon Burks and the draft community, because he is the guy that he's falling a little bit in every single mock draft I see and every conversation around him. Now, I am absolutely convinced that his floor is, I believe it's pick number 24 that Jerry Jones has there with the Dallas Cowboys. And you just know, old Jerry's got this big guy from Arkansas that can come in and be his next T.O., his next Des Bryant. I just can't imagine the Cowboys not taking Treylon Burks.
It's going to happen. As a Raiders fan, when fucking CD Lamb fell to the Cowboys, I was like, oh my God!
Exactly that, Gerson.
I want CD. I want Jerry Jeudy. I want CD Lamb. And the Raiders go, we're just gonna take Henry Rugg or head out everybody else. I'm like, oh my Lord.
But like to that point, like if they liked Lamb so much, and for them it seemed like 15th overall was a huge fall. Treylon Burks is at 24. Yeah, I don't see any way. Again, really hoping the Packers take that Raiders pick that they got for Devontae Adams, which again, congrats on that, Gerson, and use that 22 overall to take Treylon Burks. That's kind of, again, maybe my dream. Maybe they have their eyes set on someone else, but Gerson, up to you at the 108.
Jeff, you sniped me. Damn you. I wanted Drake London. But, I mean, I think at this point in the draft, you have all these wide receivers that were taken, right? Jamison Williams, Garrett Wilson, Treylon Burks, and Drake London. I love Drake London. I think I would actually have Drake London ahead of all those wide receivers. Treylon Burks is amazing, but I just think for fantasy, it's what Jeff said. Fantasy want, Treylon Burks, but the real people want Drake London. It's just about like GM. GM fall in love with certain players, and then fantasy players fall in love with certain players. But I think this is where it gets tough for me. This is where the tier really like kind of breaks down a little bit. Let's see. And this for Superflex, a lot of people are probably going to be quarterback in this range, right? But like I said, I'm not a big quarterback fan of this draft class. And I'm going to have to go. I know. Okay. And I'm probably going to get criticized for this. It could be Rachaad White.
I have no issue with it. Actually, you know what? In my running back rankings, I lied. I actually have Rachaad White as running back too. Because his combine was pretty impressive too, a 43 catch season last year. Even though I wasn't as in love with the tape of Kenneth Walker, I think those things kind of elevate him to I think that's the clear 2-3. So I actually love the Rachaad White pick here.
Yeah, I have Rachaad White. I mean, he had a really great Z score per JJ Zacharyson. He had an 83.3. And the thing is, like, I get it. He was a JUCO guy, and he's older. But
yeah, he's 23 already, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's older. But, like, to me, is this at the 108, you're going to select either quarterback or you're going to go toward the trend of those second tier wide receivers, you know? But I'm going to take a gamble on Rachaad White. I do think Rachaad White draft capital matters a lot. If he doesn't get second day draft capital, which I don't think any of these running backs, maybe only Breece Hall will get first day potential draft capital.
Yeah.
You know? But it's Rachaad White. I love the guy. I love his size. I love his speed. Great combine. I mean, good combine. I wouldn't say great. You know, great is Breece Hall. But
still, the relative athletic score 9.87, right? So like it's not that far off of the 9.96. I think it's the two best running back scores in the whole class. I didn't see any ones that were higher.
Yeah, but Rachaad White, it's just I don't think like people think he's sexy. Obviously, you know they want Kenneth Walker, they want Breece Hall, but I think Rachaad White, if you can get a value for him at the 108, 109. Then cool. But like I said, I'm not a believer in this quarterback class. That's the bottom line. Well,
it's funny because Gymnastics, literally his Twitter handle is Gold Jackets QB. And he says the QBs suck this year. So if Mr. Nastic's saying stay away from the QBs, you know it's got to be true. Which kind of brings me to Brad's pick at 109. And part of it was going to be consensus and kind of maybe ask all of us, but I almost want to crowdsource this for a second. Just Jay, his pick of thinking Olave is better than Wilson. Does anyone really oppose that we, especially Brad loved Jamison Williams the first time, just give him another receiver and go with Chris Olave at 109?
Landing spot and then talk to me.
No, I think Olave, he's got a great chance to be the number one wide receiver off the board in the draft. I think he's higher than what fantasy people realize in a lot of instances, and I have no problem with him being the 109 here.
Yeah, I'm fine with that as well.
All right, let's do that. Brian, just a question to you. And I know your pick's next at 110, so if you want to also make that pick, you can transition to that. But just what are your general thoughts on all these receivers? Because it seems like the 5 receivers we've taken, again, looking at mock draft database, grinding the mocks, it looks like all of them are expected to get first-round draft capital. So what do you think about this entire tier of 5? Do you think do you have divisions within this tier, or what are your thoughts?
My overall thought, really, and looking at the draft board, because if I'm picking around the 104, I don't mind dropping down a few spots, maybe getting a little more draft capital, because a lot of these receivers are all good, but is there a huge difference between any of them? I'd be okay with all 5 of them. So if I can get a little more draft capital, dropping down 5 spots, I don't mind that either.
All right. And anyone else want to share their thoughts about this tier 5? I think we've kind of talked about it a lot, but it seems like that's kind of the consensus where it really is a tier of 5. There really is. Everyone will have their different wide receiver 1, but like I know Gerson, you were saying it's Drake London, right? But to you, is Drake London a tier above all these guys, or he's just the top guy in this big tier?
I think to me, wide receivers probably just like there's a tier like drop, right? But like to me, the 101 to me for wide receiver is definitely Drake London. I mean, I love his talent. I love his size. The biggest thing that impressed me more about Drake London is his size. 220, he's tall, he's athletic, he's big. But I think a lot of people get this whole thing that he doesn't have like what do you call it, jack? Or this guy has great separation and everything. And I just don't get it sometimes. Like, I see the film and people say this on Twitter, and that obviously we know Twitter is a very like environment that's like different opinionated. But to me, it's definitely Drake London. But then again, it's just tough. I mean, the wide receiver can go very different ways. And I'm saying this, the reason why I'm saying very different way is because in the last 2 weeks or so, there's been a wide receiver landscape that could change, which is Green Bay and Kansas City. If either one of these wide receiver need team, pick one of those guys, I think it's going to bump them up all the way 101, you know?
Well,
not 101, wide receiver one side, not 101. no.
Although, I think maybe the clear 103 at the very least, though, right? And then we're no longer talking about just Hall and Willis. Then it is kind of a discussion of, okay, these guys are going to be the top three. And then maybe you might see whoever that wide receivers go. Yeah. Now, the confusing thing will be, what if Green Bay and Kansas City both take 2 wide receivers? Like then we literally have 4 wide receivers going into those 2 spots. Does that help that, or is it hurt it because we're not really sure who's going to be the clear guy? I would imagine it probably hurts it.
I would definitely say it hurts it. I'm very fearful of that happening. I'm a Bears fan, so our biggest need, arguably right now, besides lineman, is wide receiver. In this,
that's what I was going to say.
Dude, this draft class has so many good wide receivers, and like as we get closer and closer to the draft, it's like every single one of them are going in the first round before the Bears will even pick in the second. And I'm just like screaming internally to myself, not like this.
I really think that depending on draft capital landing spot, we might get to up to 7 in wide receivers in that really consider that first tier, because I think George Pickens probably deserves conversation there. And I think he's going to land in that back half of the first round where he ends up next to an elite quarterback. And then the other name, Sky Moore, needs to be on there too, because there's a lot of talk right now about the Kansas City Chiefs and the Green Bay Packers both being in love with Sky Moore. And Sky Moore is a guy that could land in one of those places, and he's a guy that he's so versatile. He can, again, I harp on that again and again, because that's what you're looking for in targets, a guy that can line up inside, line up outside, and the offense is really going to flow through him. And Sky Moore has those talents and those abilities, and if he gets attached to Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, obviously, he's going to be there.
I think like with Jeff, you have a great point. Sky Moore, I love Sky Moore. I drafted him in a startup draft, and I probably read. But I think when I saw that Green Bay traded Devontae Adams, I started thinking, like, what is the perfect wide receiver that could replace Devontae Adams? Obviously, he's irreplaceable for the moment, but who has the ceiling to go there? Like, a high-end wide receiver was definitely Chris Olave right away. But a bottom-tier wide receiver, like a mid-tier wide receiver, was Sky Moore. The way he plays the game, like, if you look at his tape, it's almost identical to Devontae Adams. Just very smooth, route running, knows what to do, just get the work in, And I love the Sky Moore call. I am very high on Sky Moore, and it might be too high.
I think a lot of this too, when you get a player, after some of these guys that we're saying are, some of the best talented, if you get someone like that does go to KC, does go to Green Bay, it's going to shoot them up this draft board, So we might have them right here in the, end of our first round. But if someone goes and they're attached to Mahomes or Rodgers for the next, 3 to 4 years, I know their contracts are 5, but Rodgers, he might not be there for 4 years. But if you get, even production out of that for 2 or 3 years, it's going to rocket these guys up to at least probably middle of the first round.
And I mean, I know Jay's mentioned even Christian Watson as well. Could be another one of those guys that enters into that, the small school prospect. But Brian, yeah, maybe. I guess, you'd be used to does North Dakota count as the Midwest? I'm not even really sure. But anyway, Brian, I'm sure you're up next on the clock, though. That we know that for sure at 110. Although I'm not sure he can hear us right now. He may have been frozen. So let's give him a sec to see if does anyone want to keep talking about Christian Watson?
No, you put the quarterback here. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's back. So Brian, 110. What are you going to take?
Well, presuming I'm picking for 2 different teams at the 104 and the 110, I'm going to go with Isaiah.
Well, I don't know that there's any other prospects named Isaiah, so I think we can just say Isaiah Spiller, the running back. So running back 4 off the board, which might not. I mean, he might still go as the RB3, Man, I've moved him down my rankings though. Right now, I've got him ranked as RB9.
Wow.
Is it crazy to have Tyler Batty ahead of him? Am I just Batty crazy? Like, is that just nuts? Obviously, Keontae Ingram as well.
Man,
I love Batty, but that's a little bit aggressive because I think Spiller can still profile into that 3 down back.
Yeah,
I guess that is the appeal of Batty, right? Like the pass catcher. Maybe Spiller does that better. Okay, maybe we'll save RB8 then. Maybe I'm looking now. That was maybe a little.
It's your ranks, man. It is your ranks. Put him there if you got him there.
That's true.
I'd say if Batty was like 3 inches taller, man, he would be right up there in this draft class, right around the RB3, RB4 range. But, man, who was he, like 5'7"?
Yeah, pretty much. I think we could say that was a little bit bad, Kyle. But, I mean,
I hate Isaiah Spiller, apparently.
No. You don't hate Isaiah Spiller. I just think landing spot is critical for Isaiah Spiller.
Definitely.
Probably both. Like I was saying with Kenneth Walker, maybe that one's you're more worried about landing spot than draft capital. With Rashawn White, because of the pass catching, he could probably make it work anywhere. You're more worried about draft capital.
Actually,
really might be both.
I meant to say draft capital is more important than anything for Isaiah Spiller. Draft capital is the most important thing for him because Bucky Brooks and a couple other guys. I mean, you go look at mock draft right now by the latest people that, put mock draft up. Isaiah Spiller and some of them isn't even drafted in the top 3 rounds.
Could he be this year's Trey Sermon, right? That everyone's maybe elevating into the first round of rookie drafts anyway, even though the parts, the profile, especially with draft capital, aren't there.
Possibly. But
everyone's so running back starved too in most leagues. I mean, running back.
Keyshawn Vaughn 2 years ago too, right? Like it's not just a Trey Sermon thing. Not to send you out there, Gerson, but like everyone elevated Keyshawn Vaughn, and I didn't really think there was a very good reason to do that in the first round in a lot of places.
Exactly. And Isaiah Spiller's got he's got the pass catching prowess, so I mean that's automatically raises people up in Dynasty, especially PPR leagues. So I mean he's probably undeserving, if that might be a little harsh, I would say, but I mean, he's going to go here just because he does have the potential. He is kind of a pass catching running back. He has the size. So, I mean, it definitely makes sense, but it seems like most of us are in the same tier here, though we don't exactly have him this high.
So based on Jay's comment, he said he would have loved to see him play in the bowl game. Is he talking about Isaiah Spiller? I don't even know. Like the only bowls I know are a cereal bowl. There's maybe other types of bowls I have often too. But
yeah. Where do you have Isaiah Spiller? I'm curious.
Where do I have Isaiah Spiller? He is my running back 4 right now, but I'm really flirting with him being my running back 5 with Zamir White being ahead of him. I've got Rashawn White.
And you Gerson's
3, so I got Zamir kind of right there. It's just a very big jumble right now, and I'm kind of holding off on moving too much because that's going to be draft capital landing spot. And I said that 2 months ago. I had a tweet 2 months ago that said this running back class is going to come down to draft capital and landing spot because you can get very deep. There are a lot of backs in this class that could earn first, second down roles, goal line roles, pass catching roles. There is not, there's not a ton of guys, obviously, that are the elite guys at the very top, but you can get very deep in this class. And there's a big need for that in the NFL. We saw Rex Burkhead become a feature back last year on a team. And there is a big need for an infusion of good, young, talented players that are going to come in on cheap contracts. And I think you're going to see a lot of that out of this class. And I love stocking up on 3rd and 4th round picks in this class and just taking late running backs and hoping that something's going to break your way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like this running back draft class is just a bunch of Alexander Madisons in there. You know what I mean? Just a lot of like good, solid backs that are probably going to be backups, but if they come in, they're going to give you some pretty solid production.
And that's what it is. That's what it is, especially loading up your dynasty rosters with these guys that, if you took Khalil Herbert in the 4th round last year, you're loving it. You were able to get a productive window during the season. And if David Montgomery goes down, you've got a guy that's going to be flirting with being a running back 1. And we know that already. Mm-hmm. So, and that's really what I'm looking for to fill out my dynasty bench and roster. Cause I like to run leaner on wide receivers and load up with just running backs who could end up as starters. And But part of that is I typically draft more of a 0 RB approach when I draft, but that's how I like to build dynasty rosters.
It's good to have. Oh, go ahead.
No, I think in the late second and third round, you just want to smash running back because by then you're hoping for a James Robinson, you're hoping for like a Ramondre Stevenson, which we've seen a lot of comparisons to what Brian Robinson, Ramondre Stevenson, Tyler Algier. I don't even know if that's how you say his name. I mean, he plays down the street from you right now, like 2 miles away. But it's just like you want to hit on those running backs. Like you never know, like what is the thinnest position in the NFL right now? In fantasy, it's running back. Obviously, like you have those running back by committee. And then you have those, Jonathan Taylor. But to me, when you get that late, you just want to take swing for running back.
Yeah, and I don't love the late second round in this rookie draft. I love using those. If I have later second round picks, what I've been trying to do, like a Dawson Knox is a guy that I've targeted, or like Kadarius Toney, guys like that putting packages together and using those second round picks before, especially now before you're in the rookie draft, and when people are we're kind of at that approach where people are starting to solidify putting names to values, but we're not all the way there within the broader community. And so you're getting people that are still have that mindset of, well, that's 208. Who knows what 208 could end up being? And I love trying to moving those in this class for proven guys if you can, and potentially getting a fourth back that you can use that fourth to throw a dart at a running back, just like you'd be throwing a dart in the second round.
That's a good point there, Jeff. Because again, everyone's watching mock draft shows like this one, so they're getting to know these names before. There was Gerson, you were on with me on the Armchair Show on Wednesday with Jeff, and we did a rookie mock draft then too last Wednesday. So like that's the season, right? That's 2 at going for 2 in the last week. So imagine all the other channels. Devin, 111.
It looks way different than this one already. I can tell you that.
Oh yeah, for sure, and I think that was interesting, right? Like as much as Gerson and I are common denominators, also getting a bunch of other people in as well, and definitely different results here. I don't think Jamison Williams went 103. Even Kenneth Walker, I think in the back half of the first more than 104. So yeah, definitely go check out that and all the other Armchair Fantasy Show episodes because they're also great. But go ahead, Devin.
So for me, I definitely think even before the Isaiah Spiller pick at the 109. That's kind of where the well is dried up for me in this draft class. It's really going to depend on kind of, team makeup. We've discussed that plenty. But for me here, if I'm the 111, I have a good team. Presumably, I probably have good quarterbacks. But I don't think you can pass up the value of getting the quarterback 2 of this class. Whoever you end up taking here, whether it's the guy I pick or another quarterback. But I'm going to take Kenny Pickett here. I think just, you probably, like I said, you don't need the quarterback. But if he hits and he actually does good, you're going to, get way more back in return than a 111. So we all know quarterbacks are the most valuable position in Superflex. People will pay hefty for them. So I think regardless, if you go whatever quarterback here, it would probably determine on landing spot, to be completely honest with you at this point. But I think you can't pass up on a quarterback here if you're a 111 team.
Also, Alex Pickett coming in saying, "What's up, guys? Thanks for joining us here." And
great MMA stuff. Follow him.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, the all-ranked MMA. Thanks for. I'm sure Alex thanking you for that shout out, Gerson, but thanks for adding your knowledge. Maybe I'll take away from the collective knowledge here. I know Gerson's going to hate this pick. Again, if you watch the Armchair Show, this is probably some deja vu. I like what Devin's saying with the quarterback, and this is my quarterback too right now in the class. And that might be a real hot take, but it does look like he's going to get first-round capital. Again, grinding the mock draft database, he's looking like he might even be a top 20 pick. And just consistent rushing performer all throughout college. Even his last year, his senior season, he only had 355 rushing yards, but that also was the first time he threw over, 387 was a career high in attempts. So more towards the passing, less on the rushing. Got a career high 30 touchdowns out of it. Like his season last year is not looking at the numbers, not that different from Matt Corral's best season, for instance. And so I'm going to go Desmond Ridder to end the first round here at quarterback.
I love it, Kyle. I love it. He is my quarterback too as well. I really don't know how in fantasy how he can't be your quarterback too, to be honest. After the athleticism that he showed at the combine, and if he's catching that first round draft capital, I've got Willis and then Ridder and then a gap for me personally.
Also, just real quick, when earlier when Jay was talking about the guy that didn't go to his bowl game, I think he was talking about Tyler Batty there. So my Batty for misinterpreting. But yeah, I guess what? So I know we're an hour 10 in here, but I would like to get a second round done. So how about we just make the picks? Let's just and then we can discuss it all afterwards. So Jeff, go ahead.
I'll do George Pickens with the 201.
Mentioned
Choose
it
your
earlier, that
bear.
makes sense.
I really hope he lasts, man. I like him a lot. I know he's coming off what is it, 2 ACLs or just one in his career? Either way, I know he's coming off at least one. But yeah, I love that kid. He's got a lot of makings to be an elite wide receiver at the next level.
Pick one.
I guess apparently Jay likes the Desmond Ridder pick too. So you're outvoted, Gerson. Sorry, but you can go ahead and make your 202 pick here.
I can be outvoted all I want, but I'm gonna follow my. Zamir White. I'm gonna take Zamir White.
Yep, great. I know Jeff was saying he was debating about him. I honestly, if I didn't go Ridder, I might have reached on Keontae Ingram, but I was definitely thinking Zamir White there. I have him as a top 5 back right now too. So, I guess we can make this consensus pick for Brad. What to me, like this feels like Matt Corral should go by now, right? Like,
yeah, I would agree.
It's almost irresponsible of us to not have him in the first round, but that's the way this mock went. Any objections? Is there any other player that you think would raise there?
I think if you're a team picking, top 3, you're going to be ecstatic to get a quarterback right here.
All right. And then Brian's pick is a little frozen right now. Give him a sec. And then if not, we can, again, make a consensus pick because I guess at this point it gets really wide open. So, Brian, if you want to make your 204, go ahead. We'll try and wrap it up.
Yeah, I've had a little hard time keeping up, but is Sam Howell still available?
Yeah, he is.
He is.
That looks to be the top 6 quarterbacks, right? If you look at the top 5 quarterbacks, and maybe not all 5 go in the first round, but I guess we'll see where Howell ends up. If it's funny, if we had taken 2020's results, he might be the 101 as opposed to 2021 where a down season. But Devin, 205.
All right, 205. My next highest is going to be Christian Watson.
Yeah, I think Jay called that one out too. And Jay knows the receivers. Oh yeah, I guess it's me. I guess not. You see, I was maybe thinking Sam Howell there. So good snipe there, Brian. What do I have running back?
If this kind of shows everyone everything too is, middle of the second round, this well has really dried up. So, if you're sitting there and you have some of these picks, I would be personally doing something similar to what we discussed earlier and trading up into the first round. I
think I don't know how you feel about this, Devin, but apparently he thinks Jay thinks Sam Howell is Mitch Trubisky 2.0. So,
hey, I mean he went to North Carolina, so I guess they share a common college there.
There's one guy that I see that can still jump up in that tier, and I hope he follows me.
Yeah, I'm thinking as much as I guess I'll risk Keontae Ingram coming back to me at 212 because taking Keontae Ingram at 206 does seem like that. As much as I really like him, that seems like it may be doing a disservice to people. So I'm telegraphing that, and hopefully he falls at the end of the draft. So I'm gonna go sky high more here and hope he reaches a draft, a landing spot that makes his dynasty stock go sky high.
Man, I love that. I didn't even think of it. I always said Guy Walker, like the Black Knight,
Ooh, I like that too. I love Star Wars. Good.
You got me there, Kyle. You sniped me. So I'm gonna go. I think that there are really 2 names left before we get a real big fall off, and I'll go with Trey McBride here at the 207, the tight end out of Colorado State.
What's a tight end? I'm just kidding. No, the only thing on this show is no kickers, but we do allow tight ends as much as I despise them.
I love tight
Yep,
ends.
and as much as he despises him, I love him the opposite that much.
There you go, Devin. That's right. I love tight ends, man.
Of course,
Same
the
here,
Bears,
man.
because they always have so many, like 9 tight ends every year, right? So that makes
Yeah,
sense. Exactly. You would love
exactly.
them.
That's the only reason I'm a Bears fan.
And I especially hate Packers tight ends. So it falls in perfectly there. But go ahead, Gerson. I don't know if I sniped you with Sky Moore, and if I did, I'm not really that sorry, I guess.
I think there's two. Like, it's just no, man. Like, Sky Moore's awesome, but Johan Dawson. I mean,
Yep.
I love Johan Dawson. I love his route running ability, the way he plays. But I think he's one of the most wide receivers that his landing spot matters. Because you need a good quarterback for him. So Johan Dawson for sure.
All right. So what are you thinking for Brad's pick here? Do we just give him Keontae Ingram and ruin my day, or?
No, I want you to keep that day. So
Yeah, that's fair.
Let's give him.
I think Carson's strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Super flex
actually.
league.
Well, but he already has 2 quarterbacks, I think.
Well, and I think
we're
no,
just
because
drafting
he went
them,
wide
not
receiver,
drafting for specific teams.
and then I would imagine like if anything you would say like that he's like his 109 was Chris Olave, right? Like this is Brad 2, quote unquote.
Yeah, and I think that when you really look at it, it just fell off, and in my mind in terms of this rookie class, and maybe draft capital landing spot pushes a couple more guys in, but it might also move a couple guys out. But I think that this is really kind of your breaking point.
But even if like let's say you're at a 109, and you go quarterback, I don't think that's awful to do that, especially if playoff contending team, maybe thinking again that 109 especially should be a player to kind of come in and help with the starting lineup. But getting 2 quarterbacks, and then if someone else needs one, you can trade for those players in season more easily by giving up that quarterback. So I don't think it's awful to do that in a rookie draft, to double up on the position.
I know last year after the draft, when I had rookie drafts, I used a lot of early to mid thirds on Davis Mills, and I'm pretty thrilled with that right now. So
I was just gonna say that. Like I see Carson Strong kind of like Davis Mills. Like he was like under, like, is that even a word? Underlooked, like like nobody whatever, who's Davis Mills, but Carson Strong feels the same vibe. But sorry, I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, Brian, now you're back. Do you want to make the 210 your final pick of the mock draft?
Yeah, so at this point in time, this is why I didn't go wide receiver earlier. I still like the depth. So for me, it's one of 3. You got David Bell, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Dotson. I'm going Homer. I'm Wan'Dale Robinson on this one.
Okay.
He was from my crosstown rival high school, so in a small town, Frankfort, Kentucky.
Wow. No, I like that pick. I'm not saying wow, like wow, but I like.
Well, the wow that you got to see Wan'Dale. Yeah, have you ever seen him play in person, Brian?
Oh, I have. When he played at the University of Kentucky, I got an opportunity to see him. He's excellent. That they kind of called him the
elite wide receiver. Okay. We got that, bro.
Well, we got some suspense on the show. We'll find out what that actual nickname is next time. No, I'm kidding. We still have 2 picks left, and hopefully some time for Brian to get back. But Devin, do you want to make your 211?
Yep. We've been preaching it the whole time, so I'm just gonna stick with what we've said, and I'm gonna do a dart throw at a running back. I wanted to snipe you, but I'm gonna leave your pick here for you. And I'm gonna take Damian Pierce.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, Brian, go ahead. What was Wan'Dale Robinson's nickname at Kentucky?
Elite wide receiver. Okay.
The silent one.
Yeah.
No one ever talks about Wan'Dale. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to go Keontae Ingram. I've already said it. I almost took him 101, to be honest. No. I like him. I clearly maybe like him a little too much. Like going back, looking at the athleticism, I gave him a really high burst score, one of the highest in the class. Like I think Hall and Rashad White were the only ones with a higher burst score for me. Maybe that was a little much. And if I were to take that down to like even say like where Kenneth Walker was at, he would then fall behind Breece Hall in the film grade. But he'd still be ahead of like, basically equal score to Zamir White. And I really like both those guys. Ingram and White. I think I've got them right now as my RBs 4 and 5 respectively. obviously, again, especially with Ingram, I think if he doesn't get the draft capital, I will drop him down. As much as I like him, I have to understand it is more important what the NFL thinks these players getting the opportunity, which is something I think you mentioned a lot earlier in the show, Jeff. And any opportunity you get to mention the word opportunity, we'll take it. And I know Jay's saying great show. I really hope that everyone finds that this information useful and do agree that it is a great show. That is our hope here at the Dynasty Gambit, to help you out every time with Dynasty Fantasy Football concepts. And again, really appreciate the great guests we had come on, Jeff and Gerson. Mr. Again, I never know if I go Hemingway or Metallica here, but for whom Jbl tolls.
And Devin.
But Kyle, I think you know me well enough that you could probably go with both of them. So no, you're good either way. But thank you so much for having me on. I love going for two, and grateful and thankful. And anything I can do to help you guys out, I really appreciate it.
Hey, we missed you, man.
Miss you too.
Of course, but of course, we don't have to miss you too much, Jeff, because we can always watch you on the Devi Royale every Tuesday night at 9:30.
Yeah, and then content on Football Guys as well. So I got an article.
Congrats on that
right
Congrats
now.
on that
Thank you very much. Yes.
And Gerson, I was going to kind of leave the co-host for the end to kind of give us our own outro. But again, I'm sure Devin appreciates you calling him out. But why don't you let people know where they can find or follow you?
You can follow me at the Fantasy DFS. I'm always on the Friday show for DFS season, though. Everybody knows that with Tim Frobo and, well, obviously the creator of Going for Two, Jeff Lambert. Even though sometimes I'm like, no, I'm just kidding. No, but with Jeff, we do the armchair show for DFS. And then honestly, guys, I love Dynasty, and just follow me, tweet me. I'm not that active on Twitter, but I like to talk shit sometimes. That's more than anything, I appreciate all the content you guys put out. Gambit and Jeff. I'm a big fan of you, man. Keep it up, man.
I appreciate that, Gerson.
I didn't know you were talking to like Jeff Lambert out in the ether, or Jeff Bell.
we love Jeff. Jeff Lambert is our 101 of Jeff, so I don't blame you.
I don't know about that.
I would imagine going 102, going for two, maybe is more appropriate.
There you go. There you go.
That is true, huh?
I always love the numbers, but I always, again, love the Dynasty Gambit and my two co-hosts, Devin, Brian, if we have you again, great to always have you. I know maybe a little technical difficulties. Hopefully we're past that though. And
yeah, it's been a tough night, but at least I was able to keep up with most of it. But as for me, you can always find my content on Vandegrad92 on Twitter. I wanted to thank all of our special guests. It really made for a nice show. And sorry I had so much technical difficulty over here.
Oh, you're good, man.
Yeah, draft board's gone. But yeah, we're still here though. Just we're finishing the outro. But apparently Alex says Jeff is like 210 at best.
Oh,
at least 202, and then you get 2 2s, and you can go for two twice. I don't know. That's a little harsh. But thanks, Alex. Maybe we won't tell Jeff about that comment. Devin, any final thoughts?
Glad to do this every week. Or every other week, I should say. It's a lot of fun. This was a lot of fun, guys. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate your time coming on and talking mock draft with us. So the season is here, so it's gonna be pretty interesting here the next few weeks, guys.
And if I'm not mistaken, the draft is the 28th. Like that's the day it's starting, April 28th.
It is, yes.
That's correct.
So that would fall on our next episode is going to be April 14th. But then our what would normally be an episode of ours would be that Thursday night, the 28th. Yes, Gerson?
Can I just say this?
Of course.
I'm going to let everybody know that it's smoke season. Smoke season. Don't believe everything you see. You guys remember
that's what you meant. I was thinking something else.
Yeah. You guys remember when I don't smoke weed. I smoke food like barbecue. I don't smoke weed. I'm drug free, guys. Alcohol is a drug. But
yeah, I was gonna say that's
it's smoke season. You remember when Mac Jones was supposed to go to the 49ers?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was for sure locked in. Definitely going to happen.
Oh, it's going to happen. Oh yeah.
Aaron Rodgers will not play another game for the Green Bay Packers.
It's smoke season. So guys, just don't rely on one source all the way for your dynasty. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna go do this. Seriously, be realistic. Like, follow Jeff, follow all these guys here. Like they'll tell you the truth. I mean, not Jeff Lambert, because Jeff Lambert was like, he didn't even know what the hell was going on with the 49ers last year. You know?
Well, because no one did, to be fair. Like, none of the beat writers did, right? Like, he was probably as well informed as the actual beat writers were.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, yeah, Tom Brady retired.
Oh, no, he didn't. I know Tom Brady didn't retire. Giselle would have let him do this to her.
I saw a quote from Peyton Manning that he had sent him like this really nice card and like food and all that, and he's like, "I want it all back."
I mean, just don't send it again, right? I mean, like, Peyton Manning
Right?
passes too many times. Usually, one of them will get picked off. Anyway, bad joke for such a great quarterback. I'm sorry, Peyton Manning. Not really, but yes, as I was saying. Draft night. So 28th, Jeff Lambert and a bunch of other different hosts will be hosting hours. Like, I know, Gerson, you were on last year for that. I believe, actually, I think you were too, Jeff, when they hosted quite the party on draft night. And then again, I believe Friday night, it might have been Jay, podcast with Upside. Those guys had the Friday night. But Gerson, you were gracious enough to join me on Saturday. Last year at the draft, we had Mike Hicks on. We went for like 3 hours on that Saturday, just kind of recapping everything and focusing on the last picks. But I guess I'm hosting something again like that. Devin and Ryan will both be joining us, so that like it'll be a special episode of the Dynasty Gambit on a Saturday instead of a Thursday. So next Thursday, or 2 Thursdays from now, the 14th, will still be on. But then instead of the 28th, it'll be the Saturday the 30th that we'll do during the day 3 of the draft. So I know, Gerson, if you want to join again for that, you're obviously welcome.
Oh, dude, I'm always going to be on there for you, man.
Love you. Jeff, you could even come back too. I don't know. I know, obviously, you got the family, and I'm sure draft season's busy, but the invite's always open for you.
I appreciate it. I'll find some time. I'll be around.
Jeff is like the LeBron James, you know? Like he's like, I'm gonna play for the Lakers, but next year I'm leaving. I'm going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They have a big young talent. I'm gonna win a championship. Peace out.
Win now, right? It's all about win now.
Tell you.
And that's, again, what we're hoping to do here on the Dynasty Gambit is help you win now. And I guess the first step here in normal Dynasty offseason is the rookie draft. So hopefully these mock draft results hopefully help you out. And there's the results, and they're gone. Oh, actually, I made Devin disappear. Sorry, Devin. I'm bad at this. So that's why we're going to get out before I mess up more. But again, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for watching the Dynasty Gambit. Follow everything along on Going for Two Live, at Going for Two Live on Twitter, and all the Going for Two Live networks on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, even Twitter video, at Going for _2, and it gives you everything article-wise and access to the website, goingfor2.com. Check out all the great shows. I guess, what's the next show coming? Tomorrow night, Friday night? Is it the Hot Route? Yeah, I believe so. Hot Route with the King of Spice, Bo. Yeah. So that'll be tomorrow night. Check for listings for exact time. I'm not exactly sure. Dan, I'm bad at this. But then Saturday night, I will be hosting press coverage, special time. I'm at a concert Monday night, so couldn't do it then. But my guest, Jordan Richards, was gracious enough to move it to the weekend. So Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. That I know. Be here on the Going for Two Live Network. But again, on behalf of my co-hosts, Devin and Brian, thank you, Gerson. Thank you, Jeff. And thank you, all the listeners.
Peace.
This is the Dynasty.